the Infinity Bros podcast, the only podcast that is perfectly balanced, as all things should be. Here again with you, grateful to be with you this evening, morning, afternoon, wherever you're listening, however you're listening. Thank you for making us part of your weekday or month. I'm your host, Max Mosier, here with two other Infinity Bros today. First, we have Infinity Bro Isaac. Isaac, how are you?
I'm doing great, Max, and I would like to say to you and to Mark, I told you so. That's all I would like to say.
Told you so with what?
No, what'd you tell us?
We'll find out.
Well, if it has anything to do with what happened in episode 5, I made that call way before.
You probably did, but Max didn't, so I can still say I told you so.
I didn't make any calls. He's referencing WandaVision. We'll talk about that later. But before we get to the preview of our show, let's get to Infinity Bro. Mark, how are you?
Oh, I'm excited to be back. It's been too long to not talk about WandaVision with Infinity Bros Universe.
For real, dude. Any amount of time, honestly, is too long with not talking about it.
Do you think, Mark, people, because you and I are probably on, at least one of us is on, I'd say 80 to 90% of these episodes. Do you think last week people saw that you and I weren't on and just checked out?
I hope not.
I think they saw that you weren't on and rejoiced and finally listened to an episode. Yeah.
Like rejoiced that Max was not on?
Maybe both. I don't know. Who knows?
Well, if it's just Max, I'm all in. If it's both of us or me, I'm out. I'm selling that. Selling that hard. Selling that for a lot.
Bottom 5 worst banter we've ever had to start off a show. No question about it. Welcome to the Infinity Bros podcast. As I said at the top, I am your host, Max Mosier. You can check us out at theinfinitybros.com. Check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. You can follow us on Twitch at _the_infinity_bros. The name still sucks, but the content
is above average.
Above average at best.
Robbie is starting to get into streaming. He's got a sweet setup, and I personally love Robbie's backgrounds because he's got a lot of Funko Pops to show off. So make sure you're checking him out, Jarrett and Isaac, throughout the week. Mark, Zane, and I sneak in there as well, but make sure you check out those three. They're doing some great stuff on Twitch. We're going to talk about WandaVision episode 4 and 5. It's probably why you're here listening to us right now. We're going to start that on the top of the show. That will be a spoiler review. We're going to talk about the new Black Panther TV show, Disney Plus, 5-year deal for Ryan Coogler. You won't want to miss that. Watchmen getting the Watchmen writer, being attached to the Blade project, and a couple other of little bits. We'll bring back our buy or sell segment, and we're going to do a little bit of that.
Mark's
pun intended.
favorite segment of all time.
It is Mark's. It's become Mark's favorite segment, no question. He feels like the Wolf of Wall Street at the end of it. Like he's cashing in on his bets of rumors that nobody knows.
When it was first pitched during our pitch meeting, our roundtable meeting that we have once a quarter, I was like, I wanted to sell it right away when Max brought it up. But once we did it, I was all in.
You did the bit where you got in front of everybody and you were like getting ready to sell all the things. You looked at us. All of us had the sad, gloomy faces. Like, I've been leaving. I've been leaving. The show goes on. But let's talk about WandaVision episodes 4 and 5. This may be your first time listening, so we want to make sure that you're familiar with our rating system. So we're going to go ahead and put that bumper right here.
Here on the Infinity Bros podcast, everything is ranked from a 0 to 6 point scale. 0 meaning horrible, and 6 meaning absolutely excellent. If all of the Infinity Bros rank something a 6, it gets an Infinity Step.
Additionally, I want to remind you, we're going to spoil this episode. So if you haven't seen it, or episode 4 or 5, excuse me, if you haven't seen these episodes, what are you doing? Go watch this show. It's like, 7-minute episodes, but 30-minute credits. Go check them out right now on Disney Plus. Come on back, listen to us after. We're going to put that spoiler bumper warning right here.
This is...
Prepare yourself.
An Infinity Bros.
Prepare yourself.
Spoiler. Warning.
All right, we're not going to bury it anymore. WandaVision episode 4 and 5. Mark, you, Isaac, and I, we've had discussions on episodes 1 through 3 on this podcast in particular. Can you remind the audience what your rating was coming into this? What your feedback, positive or negative, has been on it? Mark, we'll start with you.
It's been 6s. So at this point, it's been 666, with positive ratings throughout all of them.
Isaac, what about you?
My ratings are 5s on the first 3 episodes, I believe. Or maybe I think I gave episode 3 a 6. 2 5s, 5 for 1 and 2 for sure. 6 on 3, 6 on 4 and 5. And if we can do any higher than a 6, like a 7 out of 6, that would be what I would rank this last one, episode 5.
Mark, real quick, we'll come back to your rating real quick. Isaac just started that. I was the same as Isaac, essentially. 5.5 out of 6 on the first 2 episodes. 6 on episode 3. On episode 4 and 5, I'm giving episode 4 a 6. Episode 5, the highest 6 is. I thoroughly enjoyed these episodes. Mark, what did you rate these? Why don't you start us off with your review of these episodes? Just quick review, and then we'll kind of dive into some spoilers and some pontificating.
You want me to review the episodes without spoiling anything?
No, you can spoil it. The reviews, the bumper's already been dropped. You can talk about Luke Skywalker all you want.
Luke Skywalker's back, bros. Episode 4, I think I told you guys this, like 6 out of 6 for me, but it felt very fast paced for me. Like, I feel like I started it and it felt like 10 minutes went by and the episode was gone, but really 30 minutes went by, so I had to question my reality and wondering where that 20 minutes went.
Maybe Wanda stole it from you.
Maybe. Like, just the pace of the episode was like, here's one thing, here's another, here we're going to slow it down a little bit, but screw that, we're going to go fast again, screw you. And then, you know, it's like they're like bashing you with all this information that you're trying to process with episode 4. It's, you know, we enter with Monica Rambeau coming back from the blip. I was thinking this, because that's what they're calling it, right? The blip.
Correct.
And then we get, it's supposed to be 3 weeks have gone by when she finally goes back to S.W.O.R.D. You know, new director, it's Hayward, all that jazz. Go check out an FBI investigation. Then we get, you know, then we start seeing everything from the outside, what's been happening in the first 3 episodes. And just everything blows up from there. And then, because, yeah, we see her get sucked in, then shot out at the end again. And then we come to episode 5, where it's just like, we've went another decade, another 6 out of 6 for me. Episode 4, we also get the twins born. Now the twins are babies. They all of a sudden age up again. They age up a second time to 10. And there starts to be some unraveling that's happening in episode 5. And I think that it's just getting juicy. Like, the slow burn is very satisfying, in my opinion.
Well, Mark, I want to kind of go beat by beat with this. Your excitement level is clearly palpable, and I think our audience is there as well. It seems to me the general consensus in culture on this show right now is the slow burn not only paid off, it paid off in spades. Isaac, you and I had pacing issues on the front end. Mark did not. Some people were saying this show is not one that I'm enjoying. It's just boring, is what some people said. That wasn't yours and my feedback. Our feedback was more like, hey, we could have taken 5 more minutes and you could have kept doing what you were doing, but given us more time in this world to play a little bit. How did you feel, Isaac, about the drastic shift in episode 3? 4. Yeah, 4. The drastic shift that occurred in episode 4 with pacing, peeling back the curtain, looking behind the TV set. How did you feel about that?
It was a little bit of a shock, I think, but overall, I think it was a welcome jolt, because up to this point, we don't know what is going on outside of Westview at all. So I thought it was really cool how they went into, you know, and they kind of went back and were doing this timeline about the same time as episodes 1, 2, and 3 were going on, which I thought was really cool. But yeah, I thought it definitely was different. Like, it was kind of a jolt of like, oh, okay, so this is happening in reality, just in her own, you know, enclosed reality. But yeah, it was a little bit of a shock, but they did such a great job explaining all of that in a short period of time. But like you said, Mark, I mean, it just flew by. You're just like, what? Wait a minute, this episode's over already? And it was even longer than the first 3 episodes. So they did a great job of catching you up on what was going on in the outside world, I thought.
From episode 4 on, The only comparison to another show that I can make is, in my opinion, the greatest show of all time in Lost. In the sense of this, it's what they're doing with this project is they are truly letting the audience marinate in this. And in the MCU, what's been fascinating about it is you get these dumps, right? So forget the phrasing. Maybe a better phrase is out there, I'm sure. You go 7 months, you get a 2.5 hour movie. Then you get another 7 months. You get another 2.5 hour movie. And you're just thinking during these 7 months about what the plot of that movie will be. And you get everything in that one showing. Well, now what's happened with this universe is now we're getting tastes of it. We're getting 20 to 30 minute segments of it. And it's driving a lot of people insane. Some people are loving it. Some people are hating it. But it's drastically shifted. And it only reminds me of Lost because Lost is the only show that I can remember in recent memory that really pushed audiences to go online and research these characters. And unlike Lost, there's obviously a plethora of characters to pull from and think about, some that haven't even been introduced, like Grim Reaper, Mephisto, that aren't even being talked. Technically Agatha Harkness, although I think a lot of people are assuming that's Agnes. A lot of people are really researching two characters that, sure, they're core Avengers, but in the landscape of pop culture have been really kind of background characters, unless you've read the comics in the last maybe 20, 30 years. Mark, where are you sitting right now with the pacing of this show? Do you feel like it's hitting its stride? Obviously, you were cool with the pacing on the front end, but how are you feeling? Did you think it was too early to make the shift in episode 4? Do you think they should have waited longer? Or do you think it was just right?
No, this is, putting the puzzle together. The first 3 episodes, they were setting up the gun, loading the magazine, and now we're pulling the trigger for the rest of the series.
It's a lot of magazines to load if we're pulling triggers for.
Okay, we're using a saw. Episodes. It is just a chain of just
machine guns, just rat-a-tatting for 4 or 5 whole episodes.
That's what we want. That's what the people want. I just don't feel like you can slow down at this point. You just got to keep building this momentum with a huge payoff at episode 9.
Right.
And what we got.
Well, and I guess that's fair. I completely agree in the sense of, like, they totally set us up for this. And I guess our show, we knew that, right? The 6 of us knew this was coming. It's just more, I guess, from my perspective of how do you start it off to get the person that doesn't really fully understand it? Like my wife is one of those people. She's asking me, where did Vision come from again? Like, she doesn't remember that he's from Age of Ultron, right? So these details that are kind of crucial to this story, I think some people are struggling with, but then I go online and random people are talking about this show. It's pretty impressive. Mark, let's shift over to certain characters. Go ahead.
On that note, I was just Googling some stuff, and I put WandaVision in, and like one of the top articles is, who are the main characters in WandaVision? So you're right.
Well, yeah, it's grabbing people's attention that normally wouldn't watch superhero movies or the genre, basically, because it's different.
Think about the 50 million people that subscribed to Disney Plus earlier last year are now seeing this on their headlines. Like, oh, what's this show that they keep advertising for us? So, like, you're probably just gonna get a casual Disney watcher watching these shows.
What do you guys think of Jimmy Woo and Darcy coming back in these roles? Have you enjoyed being back with them? Especially Darcy kind of was looked at as like, meh, whatever. She was in Thor. Didn't really have a fleshed out storyline. She was there for more comedic beats. Are we liking what they're doing with them so far? Isaac, let's start with you.
Honestly, I love it. Yeah, I think she's a great addition, and I think they're doing a really great job of with both her and Jimmy Woo is they're kind of fleshing out some of these MCU characters that were just, they basically made cameos in other movies, and they're actually giving them characteristics. They're giving them like personality, and I think that's really cool that, this is bringing people that are been involved in the MCU back to previous movies. And I think it just gives the MCU more depth, honestly. I think it's really cool how they're bringing back these characters to do it. Instead of introducing we're getting Monica Rambeau, which is awesome. But it's nice that we're getting old characters as well as like introducing new characters. So I love it.
Right.
I think
It's
doing
what
a great
makes
job.
the MCU really special, though, right, Isaac?
Right,
Like, you could always
exactly.
pull somebody else from somewhere else, and then there's that connecting point when their major characters meet, et cetera, et cetera. Mark, what about you? How are you feeling about Wu and Darcy?
It makes me think, like, did Kevin Feige always have it in his mind that not only the actors but these characters were going to be involved in WandaVision, or like something like down the line phase 4, like, hey, I'm going to bring these two characters together to maybe form something else. So I'm all for it.
I think they're doing something great in this with these Disney Plus shows. The interconnectivity with the MCU is going to be just off the charts. But what they didn't do well was the interconnectivity with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which was supposedly canon, supposedly the same universe as the MCU, blah, 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 all that stuff. But, I mean, it didn't grab people like it did this show so far. Because, I mean, they had, like, Coulson. Was he, like, the only character that appeared in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.? There were a couple.
There were other connections. Sif was in it at times.
Oh yeah, they did bring Sif in. That's right. But it didn't feel like they put a lot of effort into connecting it fully to the MCU, and that was because it wasn't like Feige's deal. But
I was gonna say I want to defend Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I think it's a fine show. I think the way they ended it was
I'm
really
not saying it's
strong.
a bad show, but I think Disney Plus is going to do it better in the interconnectivity.
I just think
with
there
the
needs to be
MCU.
an expectation set for viewers that it's not connected, because Perlmutter at the time was still in charge of it, and things have shifted internally since. And Feige kind of, ever since Perlmutter pushed it to the side the way he did, said we can't really acknowledge you. Now, that being said, we'll talk about episode 5 with what they've done. There's a chance that they could come right back in now based on how they ended episode 5. Go ahead, Mark. We'll finish that topic
with
out.
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. having, like, just being in the heat of it, season 4 and 5 definitely is an argument where you could make, like, well, is what's happening in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. happening in a simulation? Is it in a different universe? Because that literally is those two seasons. So it's like, is the season 1 through 3 actually happened in the MCU reality? And then I haven't gotten to season 6 yet, but that's my argument for that.
You gotta watch it. It's a good show. It is separate, Mark, as you go along with it, but the way it ends does connect directly with the MCU. Now, we'll talk more about the other implications here in a bit. We get also let's talk about Sword and Monica Rambeau here.
Yes.
With Monica Rambeau, Isaac, you brought her up. I have to commend Paris, the actress that really is doing this role. I already love her a lot. I really, really am looking forward to seeing her do more. Tiana Paris is her name, forgive me. I really, really like her a lot. She's a strong character in this universe. She does feel like a heroic type to me. I can see her playing a Photon down the line. I've really enjoyed her. I enjoyed her arc. I have to talk about the blip scene that you brought up, I believe, Mark or Isaac. The blip scene was jarring to watch. And
oh my gosh, the second time watching that just, like, gave me chills. Like, that'd be, like, either coming back or, like, working in a setting anywhere.
Oh my gosh,
would just be, like, terrifying if all of a sudden, like, you're just random people start popping up, or, like, the point where she's running through the hospital and runs into someone that's coming back too. So
it's almost like a reverse scene. It's a reverse scene too of how Scott Lang, goes back to see his daughter. It really felt kind of like that. Like, to him, he was only gone for a little bit, but everybody else is like, it's been years. And I think that the blip, I'm really looking forward to seeing more of those scenes occur. I feel like that's not the only time we're going to see that. I feel like a lot of characters are going to get those depth-filled moments. I think the blip is going to be a cornerstone moment in this universe for obvious reasons, with the big battle that occurs right after that. But in these individual characters, it's a great way to really tell a story in the course of a couple minutes. I really feel like the depth from Monica Rambeau is there, and it really, really plays to me as a viewer, and I'm cheering really hard for her in this. Go ahead, Isaac. You were going to say something.
We already talked about adding depth to the MCU. Adding scenes like that is how you do it. Like, that was such a great addition to the show, and it just, man, the impact that it has in the MCU is just so great. And yeah, like you said, Mark, the chaos that is going on in that moment, it's like palpable. Like, you can just feel everything that Monica is probably feeling at that moment, and even the people that were there, and then all of a sudden these other people just start popping up out of nowhere. It's like, holy crap, like, what is going on right now? I thought that was an amazing moment, and like you said, Max, I hope we see more of that in the MCU, because I think that adds just a ton of depth, and I thought it was fantastic.
I think it's a guarantee you're going to see more of it. It really just kind of depends on how they do it and how they tell the stories. I think you're going to see bad ways of it too. I think you're going to see villains come from this moment as well. I think you're going to see villains come and want to kill the Avengers for this because, yeah, they saved the world, but they hurt XYZ in my narrative and storyline. Let's talk about what's going on inside this bubble, this hex that.
So blip happens. I'm sorry. Like, I had made some notes for season 4 or episode 4. So 3 weeks. So after she comes back, 3 weeks go by before she goes back to Sword. Like that. I think that's important. And then from what we learn in episode 4 or 5 as well, then it would be 8 to 7 days prior to her returning. Wanda comes in and finds Vision in there. That's episode 5. Not to confuse people listening,
Correct.
but spoilers have been set up there. So it's like, I would love to see like a good, concise timeline of everything that's happening and how close to the stuff is going on. But also, one thing I noticed rewatching episode 4 today is Sword is spelled differently than what it previously was.
Correct. And that is to more cater, I think, to how this universe is aligned. In the comics, they deal more with their extraterrestrial. I think in this universe, they kind of want this to be a new, stronger representation of what S.H.I.E.L.D. is. Who knows if it will be taken over by an AIM, for example, because I know the hexagon has been very apparent in this show. But also, too, Mark, if we go into timeline, Spider-Man takes place 8 months after all this. According to the timeline, that's what it says. It takes 8 months. The summer vacation takes 8 months after that.
Oh my gosh.
So this
Max,
happens.
I'm sorry. I had to stop you one more time because you bring the hexagon thing in episode 2, where it's the opening credits, where she does the. No, hear me out.
I'm hearing you out. Go.
With the moon, there's the 6 dots that come across and make a hexagon.
Oh yeah. Oh, I'm aware.
Okay.
It's all there's hexagons everywhere in this, Mark. I got no idea what they mean. Some people are saying
they have to mean. I'm feeling Charlie from Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Mark's pulling hard on all the conspiracies
happening.
going on right now.
Yeah, Mark is to hexagons as I am to Mephisto. When I think of Mephisto, Mark, I really get jittery. I start twitching. I sit in a corner. I really get upset about Mephisto, and you're the same way about hexagons. I feel worse for you though, because hexagons kind of are going to be a part of your daily life. Versus Mephisto for me, I just hope you have help and proper support at home. I really think, Mark, too, with that is it's to me, my theory right now with the hexagons is it either has to do with, again, I'm going back to Mephisto, sue me, Mephisto and something there, or it has to do with her actual powers, which in the comics she can manipulate reality. Hexing is her power. I think that's it's just a physical representation of that. But also in this universe, hexagons are part of space travel for Guardians of the Galaxy and how they get to specific galaxies.
And how did she get her powers in this MCU? From the Space Stone.
She did. I think the Space Stone's going to be a huge factor down the stretch too, but we'll talk about that more later.
And to think about this, we've been introduced to the quantum realm, and we're told that Thanos didn't completely destroy the stones.
Or are you just saying things that are in the universe that could connect to it?
Yep, hang on. I'm tying everything back together, Max. Just watch my board and watch all the yarn that I have that are going to bring you back to where I'm going here. I'm like slowly wrapping the yarn around.
I'm no better. I've got Mephisto with yarn all around it as well. Yep. You're good.
A picture of every single person in the show. Max has a line to
totally.
Mephisto
yeah, mine is the Jimmy Woo with all the characters, and all of them are like, could they be Mephisto? That's literally me. Am I Mephisto?
Not Mephisto is Woo. Woo's
He's
the only one that
one.
cannot be.
No, it's completely clean picture on the board.
So Thanos doesn't completely destroy. He says he reduces them to atoms. So if the quantum realm exists, that means the Infinity Stones technically still exist some way. So if you're able to shrink down to a small size or have some ability to just alter reality or grab stuff from space. Like Wanda, she could theoretically bring back the Infinity Stones back to the MCU's current reality. Just saying.
Yeah, I mean, and multiverses play into this as well. Let's get back to Sword.
Did you say the multiverse?
We will, Mark. You've talked about that for a long time.
Multiverse.
I know. Let's talk about Hayward real quick. Hayward, do we trust him or not? Just that's a simple question. Do you trust him right now? My answer is no. I feel like obviously we find out stuff in episode 5. I think there's more to his story.
If you remember the Hayward from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., who's a Hydra agent.
Yes.
Maybe Hayward in this one is also a Hydra agent.
That would be interesting.
Or Mephisto, so who knows?
Yeah, I don't trust him. I mean, first of all, he's just a huge dick, and usually those guys end up to be bad guys. So, I mean, that's kind of where I'm running with it.
Who's he answering to? That'd be my other question.
What was that?
Who's he answering to? Because in episode 5, when he reveals what Wanda did,
isn't he like the acting director of S.W.O.R.D.? Isn't that what they say in
exactly?
episode 4?
Yes, and so who is he?
Oh,
you're saying like authorization to share
like
it
a board
with,
or something like Fury does?
Could be Black. It honestly could have been Black Widow till everything came back.
Man, what you said too, Mark, with gosh, now I'm blanking on what you were saying earlier. Gosh, nope. I'm
elite level podcasting.
Yeah,
we're killing it right now. No, I would just say clearly I don't trust him, but I think he's the leading front runner to be Mephisto right now. I think currently today. Now obviously we need more information.
Dude, I got another one in here. He brings up that when Kat Dennings' character or Darcy's talking about those wavelengths and stuff like that, and the stat, he's like, "Oh yeah, just like from the Big Bang." Or like
correct.
He phrases it like that. So it's like, why does someone in his position kind of know that right off the bat? If he doesn't have, like that, I think that would tie into your Mephisto belief. Is like he might be Mephisto, especially with the blip happening. He could assume that role.
Why would she point the guns at him? Obviously, that could have to do with Vision.
Like Monica Rambeau said, subconsciously she trusted her. That's what her defense was. So subconsciously, she does not trust Hayward.
And I think that's a very important thing to hear.
Because like, why didn't she use her powers on him?
Yeah, right.
And not the people around him.
We got to move on. Here we go. Monica Rambeau comes out. Her original outfit was changed to represent the time of the world that she lived in. We find out that it is bulletproof. This is an interesting finding, and for a couple reasons. Again, this is another episode, and it's kind of a continuation of episode 3, where we find, I'm just speaking episode 4 right now. We find out that anything created in there can come out of there and still exist.
But have the same genetic makeup of what it went in as. Like her outfit, what we find out in episode 5 is made of Kevlar.
Episode 4, that's exactly what I just referenced. You're referencing what I'm just talking about.
But isn't it in episode 5 when we find it? Oh man, I've been watching these all.
No.
Right,
It would be episode 4. So
they're all meshed into one giant episode.
No, you're right. You're good. You're good.
Science.
No, actually, it might be episode 5. But whatever, it doesn't matter. So the point I'm saying is she's rearranging these atoms, but whatever she makes them into, they're coming out physical, and they're not like deteriorating. They're not dying. They're not changing back to what they were, air quotes. And this is really big for a couple reasons. One, does this mean that if Vision exists in here, he can exist outside of this bubble? That's a really, really big question we need answered down the stretch. 2, her kids. Are the kids that she created in end of episode 3, and then growing up in episode 5, does this mean that basically they're going to be able to walk out of here? They're going to be able to walk out of there and exist past that? These are really important questions because I think everything happening to these people inside is real. I think that's been established. I don't think anybody, it's not like a dream world, right? It's not a snow globe. It's not going to be separate from reality, although multiverses in theory could make that something there. I think that's just a very important point here that they are drilling that point home with us. I mean, they drilled it with the helicopter. They drilled it with this. Like, I think it is setting up the two questions of, can the kids in Vision both live after this? And I think episode 8 and 9 are going to deal with that question and that conflict. Go ahead, Mark.
I think to give credence to that, like one thing I kind of overlooked and didn't think about the first few times watching episode 4 is there's signs to Westview going to Westview, but apparently some people can't see them because that's what Wu and Rambo talk about. Like, how do we have a connection? Why can we see it? And like those cops say that Westview doesn't. Like how I saw it is those cops didn't believe anything was behind them. Like Westview wasn't there.
Correct, because of manipulation from Wanda in her brain.
And the people in Westview, their significant others, because going back to the missing person stuff, don't even know, like in their minds, those people never existed. But Wu is like, well, these people did exist, so like, why does Wu remember them? If so going off of that, Wanda must, or someone has the ability to not only keep this bubble in place, but also affect people outside the bubble. And reality outside the bubble.
Isaac, what are you thinking is going to happen with the kids in Vision after this? Like, what is your prediction right now, looking into the future in your little crystal ball?
At this point, that is my biggest question, is what is going on with Vision and the kids? Because, like you said, we know that Wanda is basically changing the reality inside of her little bubble. But is Vision actually alive? Which I think he is at this point, because we know that he's starting to come out of, whatever.
He's not who he was, though, because of end of episode 3, we see him with the Mind Stone ripped out.
Is he actually there, alive, normal, like in episode 4, or maybe even was 3, when Wanda looks back and sees
it's episode
dead
4.
Vision? Like, is that just her? Is that a flashback for her? Is that what it actually is, and she didn't, change it in her mind? I don't know what's going on, but it does seem that he's coming out of her, like under her control, or whatever type of control she has, and it doesn't seem like he's under the same control that the rest of the town is, right? So he is kind of figuring this stuff out, and he talks to Norm in episode 5, and like he realizes that Wanda is controlling these people. So something's happening with Vision. I want to know what it is. I don't know exactly what's going on with him, but I think he's actually alive. I want to know how Wanda basically resurrected him, because even if she brought back, enough adamantium, which this is another part of it. Okay, so episode 5,
vibranium.
Yeah, or wasn't. Well, yeah, it's vibranium. You're
it's
right. It's
vibranium.
Right. But if she broke into the sword facility, which, if you watch that episode back, Vision is in like separate parts on tables in that room that she goes into. Like it's not really super clear, but it looks like that's what's going on. So they could be experimenting on him. Like, we don't know what's going on there.
And it's technically illegal to experiment on
exactly
him,
as the director
and they've been
says.
doing it for 5 years.
Right.
And how did they get into Wakanda to extract him?
Right, exactly. So there's a ton of questions that are still yet to be answered. But if she got in there, got everything together, she put them back together with vibranium, or maybe some extra vibranium that was going on, because he's obviously got a big
she
chunk.
Even need vibranium. She can just create it.
Can she? Well, that's the question though, because she didn't really create the clothes. She just rearranged atoms and stuff, because the clothes that Monica was wearing was made out of Kevlar.
The atoms,
but she needs the Mind Stone to fuel him. She can't replicate the Mind Stone.
Right, and that's the final part. Like, even if she could put him together, she needs the Mind Stone to make him alive, right? That's my
think
question.
Mephisto. That's where Mephisto's got to be part of this, right? And that's where that's where the future of all of this really has to be going, because. And Mark, you've touted this for a long time, but it's coming to fruition. And let's just knock the door down of episode 5 with Evan Peters being introduced as Quicksilver, a shocker to everybody. And it was a shocker, but I mean, Mark, you called it, but like I would say, if you go back and listen to the episodes where you called it, you were like hesitant about it still. Like, you could have seen it going other ways. I think to actually see it on screen and talk about it are two completely different things. And I think the point here is with Mephisto is Mind Stones are in other multiverses. And part of me wonders, did he pluck it from another multiverse? Did when Thanos snapped everything, or I'm sorry, when Hulk snapped everything and undid everything, or maybe it is Thanos. Maybe when Thanos snapped it and when he just killed half of life, did that have some effect on reality there? I'd like to think those two snaps are going to come back into play to make these things happen? Or was it what the Avengers do going back in time do that?
Max, you just opened my mind to some other idea. What if Thanos didn't snap the Infinity Snap to kill half of the universe, but snapped in reality to make people think that half the universe was gone? So half the universe lived in one reality, and the other half lived in another reality, and this is now splitting what's going on.
He just created a multiverse.
The only reason I don't think that is a great theory, Mark. I have to like tip my hat. That actually is remarkable. I haven't heard that. Where I don't think that's real though is you're watching these reactions from Monica Rambeau, for example. She fell asleep and her mom died. And maybe in the other universe it happened in other ways. And you're right. And maybe that's what one of the multiverses is going to be, right? Maybe one of the multiverses is going to be literally the opposite. People died, and the villains ended up fighting Thanos, right? I've seen that picture going around Reddit spaces. It's the picture of all the villains fighting him instead of the heroes that were fighting him. I just think right now, I think Mephisto is giving a Mind Stone to make Vision work. I also don't. I'm not, and this has been from the beginning, I'm not sold that this is
or
Vision
he went
still.
to the quantum realm to get the atom-sized Mind Stone.
Correct. Yeah, maybe. I just
gotta think about I like your idea with two different universes, but technically these still exist. I know we're supposed to be like, oh, we crushed them to atoms. Oh, we're so scared. But you would have to go find them in the universe, so someone would have to have superpowers to really find. But we've been introduced to the quantum realm, so we have to understand that would still be a possibility if you're going to give us a quantum realm.
Yes, it's a possibility, Mark. I just would shoot it down because that's not Mephisto's jam. Mephisto's jam is,
sure,
hey, sign this contract and give me your life, and it's it's a bad genie wish, right? So I that's where I think this is, and I think behind the scenes it's setting either him or he's working for somebody else to get in these multiverses. And obviously we know that Multiverse of Madness is coming with Doctor Strange, and then Isaac is obviously crapping his pants at the thought of Spider-Man 3, including all the other Spider-Man.
Absolutely.
So I just think the point I'm sitting here saying is I really think that the multiverse is a real possibility, and we get to episode 5, and this is where kind of the shit hits the wall, right? I mean, we're talking about the kids are growing up at an exponential rate. So not only are we seeing Wiccan and Speed introduced, I think it's very safe to say at this point they're going to be at least teenagers by the time this season's over, which means the Young Avengers is going to happen. On top of it, Vision is becoming self-aware. I don't even think it's him, by the way. I still think I think his soul or his being is from somebody else. It could be like a Simon Williams. We talked about that, like a reverse Wonder Man. It could be somebody else. I don't know where Vision is going with it, but I certainly I still don't think it's him. And the reason I don't think it's him is because him being so angry and agitated with Wanda in that conflict scene after she tries to roll the credits on him, I just think that's not him. I don't think it's him. There's too much emotion. The Vision we know would never do that, and I that's just my opinion. Do you think that's our Vision, Isaac?
That's a great question. I have no idea at this point. I think it is our Vision, but there's definitely something wonky going on with him. Maybe when Mephisto, resurrected him or whatever, he's got a lot of different, brain composition. He's basically a different person. Like you said, I mean, he's an android, so he technically shouldn't feel emotion and stuff like that. And that is definitely a great point about this last episode. I mean, he freaks out, and it's kind of funny because you hear Paul Bettany really clearly, and when he gets angry, and I could see him in some of his other roles, but it's kind of weird because this just hasn't happened to him as Vision before. Even in stressful situations, he's always calm, he's always collected. So I think you've got a great point there. I think it is Vision still, but there's something going on. Obviously something is wonky about him. I think the biggest question for me is the kids. Are they real, or are they manifestations of her mind? I just don't know at this point. If they are real, how would she create them? I don't know. I don't know, man.
They got to be
all right,
real.
take team, Mark.
Take me in.
I'm just
Take
saying.
me in.
One second.
Bam. Been tagged.
Just to add on to that,
You
Mark.
can't.
You'll go in a sec. Isaac, they got to be real simply for where Marvel's going. They have to be real for what Marvel's got to do. They have to introduce more characters so they can usher these old ones out. I'm not saying Wanda and Vision are like gone forever, but I certainly think with at least the way the story's going, Avengers disassembled, House of M, any Scarlet Witch in Wanda and Vision comic you read, she goes off her rocker every time. I just think she's going to transition to a villain. Maybe not in this season, but down the road, there's got to be something coming. Mark, tag, go.
I mean, technically, I was tagging Mark, and he was going to come in and take you
Well,
down.
Mark wanted to be tagged in, so I'm tagging him in. So there you go. He can now be tagged in.
They're definitely real for sure at this point to Wanda, Vision, and Agnes, because they've all seen them. And obviously the people on the screen, and even Monica Rambeau says that they're real. I don't think Vision's obviously not the father, so I think it might give me more credence to Mephisto being the father, or help creating them. Back to Vision being, if he's Vision or not, doesn't Vision says, I think it's episode 5, we are usually so much of the same mind. So is Vision real in the sense from what Wanda remembers him as and believes his personality would be, and that's why he can't remember anything, is because his memories would only be what Wanda gives him.
Right.
So that Vision really couldn't remember the previous Vision because that Vision died.
But it still is interesting that he shows so much emotion, even though he doesn't really know what's going on. Like, I know in a person that would extend a lot of emotion, but in an android, I don't know, man. I don't know.
It's really why I hold to and I've held to it for a long time, I think this is a reverse Wonder Man. I really think Simon Williams has something to do with this.
Off of that, do you think that he is just playing the part here and he knows nothing about that? Or do you think that he knows what's happening and he's just doing what Mephisto tells him to do, if he is Simon Williams?
I think whatever the deal is... So I think it's the brain waves, right? So going to the line that Mark is talking about, we are usually of the same mind. That, I believe, is a clue to his mind is not necessarily what it was. Now, interfacing with the technology, yes, I think there's pieces of Vision in him. I just don't think it is air quotes Vision anymore. I think the Mind Stone really was part of that. It was a construct of Vision, and now instead of a Mind Stone, we're inserting a artificial Mind Stone, maybe magic, and another brain. And that's really where I think I've kind of thought Wonder Man is going to come out of this at the end, especially with that Grim Reaper Easter egg in I believe episode 2, Mark, with the Bewitched scenes that I sent you guys. Like, I just think this has to... I have no idea how it gets there. Like, I don't know if, like, he's a member of where this city is and that's why Wanda had to choose this spot. I don't know if it's, like, she brought him here or Mephisto, like, picked him up from the opposite side of the globe and plopped him. I don't really know how that stuff's working, but it just makes complete sense that Wonder Man would be in this at the end of it. It's another hero you can insert. It's an easy hero to insert, and it's a replacement for Vision, who I've also said I think he's dead at the end of this. I think this is Paul Bettany's last go-around, and I think it's just going to add more trauma to the Wanda Scarlet Witch story that needs to get worse before it gets better.
So you basically think that it's Wonder Man's consciousness in Vision at this point, like his body?
And I don't know how they get there. Like, I don't know if it's science or magic.
All right.
It just would make sense. I am also and we're gonna let it talk about anything else we missed, but also I'm gonna ask a couple questions at the end. I think the Grim Reaper is the mailman. I think the mailman is the Grim Reaper because he's been brought up a couple times. He kind of looks at Agnes weird. I'm just getting the vibe that guy might be Grim Reaper. But that's just like, I'm doing what everybody else is doing. I'm throwing darts at a board and hoping something sticks. I'm hoping it sticks. It would make sense if Grim Reaper's in this somehow. They don't throw that Easter egg out there, and that means Simon Williams is in it because they're brothers. Just my opinion based off of the comic books.
Tidbit on that: Simon Williams was cast as Nathan Fillion, who was supposed to be in one of the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, and then his scene was cut.
That'd be cool.
Bet you didn't know that one.
I didn't. I would love that. I would love it if it was Nathan Fillion. I'm all in on that, Mark. I buy that. Real quick before we kind of go to our final questions here, Agnes, what is her role after episode 5? We bounced around. That's the way we do it on this show. We spoiled when we talked about it. But and then Quicksilver, we'll talk about him in a sec. But what's her role in this? Because in this episode, she appears to be kind of like somebody that's trying to cool the situation, but then she kills Sparky, which is an Easter egg for the Vision storyline I actually reviewed on this show a couple weeks ago. Where is Agnes' role in this? Is she good or bad? I can't tell.
I don't know. I'm in the same boat. Like, we even go see episode 4, where at the end where she's telling Herb not to say anything. Like, are we getting, like, I feel like I keep saying season. Episode 4, we kind of got insight. Like, are some people conscious and they're playing the game? Because we definitely get that in episode 5, where she's like, "Do you want me to do that again?"
Right.
And like Wanda just looks at her strangely. Another tidbit, or not tidbit, but like a little thing onto that. If you guys just thinking of Agnes, there's scenes where she like, especially in that episode 5, she makes like the joke, and like usually when like the show, like quote unquote show's going on, there's a laugh track when like a joke is made, and like there should be a laugh track to it. But when a joke's made like that, and there's no laugh track, I think that's happening outside of the show. If that makes sense.
She's not
like,
broadcasting that to everybody.
Yes, that's not being broadcast. Yep. So, and then are we for sure that Agnes killed the dog, and maybe it wasn't like the Grim Reaper or your mailman, per se, and she's trying to cover it up?
The mailman was right before that scene happened. He's coming right out after that. That's another reason. Well, the other thing, there's a sweet Easter egg.
There's so much.
There's a sweet Easter egg from the Vision storyline that I talked about, where there's a specific plant that Agatha Harkness and Scarlet Witch use that they have to kill an animal, get the animal's blood on the plant, and then consume the plant, and it allows them to tell the future. Obviously, the dog passes away right by a plant that is where Agnes lives. That's a very deep cut from a comic book. That's in a very obscure item and thing that has to happen. But given the circumstance of everything that's happened in the show, would it be strange for Agnes to do something like that? Probably not. I don't think it's going to happen in the context of what's going on. I think we would have had more emphasis on the plant and more emphasis on the dog dying. But that's just a tidbit that I've found in my personal reading that I wanted to share.
Going off of like the whole plant stuff, or like, trying the ritual, or like using herbs and whatever. Remember, she uses lavender on the boys?
Yep.
Lavender can be used to help growth.
Correct.
So.
Yeah, I guess the question I'm asking with Agnes, is she trying to push the boys to grow, or is she trying to preserve and protect them from a Mephisto or something darker Wanda? Like, that's the part where they've really masterfully done that this whole show. Sometimes I think Agnes is like the worst person in the room, and then other times I think she's the only ally in the room.
I think she's trying to keep everyone sane, because this is where I think you could go like the long con is she's actually a good person, because maybe she...
Yeah.
Which makes me think, does she see Vision as like this grayed out hole in head Vision?
Gosh, that would be nuts.
And maybe that's why Herb was freaking out when he saw Vision and kept cutting, because that's what he saw. He finally broke out of that spell or whatever. Just think about that. And like that's her whole thing, is like maybe she knows what the greater power is that's controlling Wanda, maybe, and she's trying to keep it, like she's trying to create her own plan to help everyone get out. But I could be totally wrong.
To add on that, Mark, that's why Mephisto's got to be part of it.
Yeah.
Right? That's why he's got to be part of it, because she's the only person that would either A, work for him, or B, be completely against him in this reality. Go ahead, Isaac.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say I'm on the same level as you guys. Like, before episode 5, I would have said, oh yeah, she's totally either Mephisto or working for Mephisto. But the whole part where she like says, do you want me to run that scene again? That just threw me off, because it seems like she is trying to, be on Wanda's side in that. I don't know. But you see Wanda, and she seems confused, which maybe that's just what we see too. But obviously she knows what is going on. Agnes knows what's going on. She's got more knowledge than anybody else in this town. So I don't know where she's at, but I think she is a good force, and I'm excited to see where it goes. But yeah, before episode 5, I would have said she's got to do something with Mephisto. Maybe she still does, but I think she ultimately is looking out for Wanda.
Yeah, there's gonna be an Agnes backstory episode coming.
Oh yeah, for sure.
That's for sure. Whether she's a witch from the Salem witch trials, or even if she's just like a random person who's a modern day witch, I just feel like that's something that's gonna happen. She obviously referenced the Salem witch trials in episode 1, I believe, when she talked about her anniversary with Ralph. And I mean, that gets to the last questions we'll ask. Real quick, Quicksilver, Mark, you and Isaac got to do a victory lap about it. Any comments about your victory lap on that? You both called that.
You don't cast Evan Peters if you're not going to have him play Quicksilver. I mean, that's how I just feel. Unless it's a big swerve. I mean, I've said that too. I guess that could be my...
And this is like the $1 million question, right? Is this multiverse or is this something else?
This has got to be multiverse. Like, why I don't understand why you would bring him in if you're not planning on, at least, like, you don't have to bring in the whole X-Men universe. Like, you don't have to do that. But now you're open to do it if you want to. I don't think it makes any sense to bring him in if you're not opening up to the multiverse.
I mean, it makes sense with what they're doing. Mark, where are you at with this? I mean, you called it, but you didn't call it under the circumstances it's in.
Okay, here's where if it's really Quicksilver, like the Quicksilver, mutant, or however, the reason why it's recast, as Darcy says, is because she doesn't have her brother's body, so she had to pull that from another reality. Would be my...
And that can only come from Mephisto.
However, if we're understanding that, if like Wanda, let's say Mephisto like granted her these powers, so it's like then she got something, but he got something in return. It could be like subconsciously she's pulling him in. It's just like when she was giving birth, where like the water was falling, and just like she didn't have control over contractions and stuff like that. So the event of that happening could just be something she had no control over. It just happened subconsciously for her.
It can also really connect to this Loki series that's coming, which deals with this time issue. And I don't know how much it necessarily connects with Falcon and Winter Soldier, but I just feel like it's an opening for that as well.
Are we sure this Quicksilver is from the X-Men universe that we know, too?
That is a great question, Mark. That's a great question.
Because the thing that made me think is we're supposed to be in the 80s. In Dark Phoenix that's set in the 80s, he does not have that haircut, if I'm remembering that right.
Honestly, I think that haircut was just to throw people off and make people think it was Aaron Tyler Johnson.
So, like...
Mark, time out. Did you catch what you just said? He was in the 80s when he had that haircut. This show was set in the 80s.
No, he didn't have that
this
haircut,
episode.
Is what I'm saying.
No, but the point I'm saying is they pulled him from the 80s X-Men universe in an 80s WandaVision episode.
Well, I don't think that matters because literally
that does matter. That's insane.
You go in the Hex and she changed Monica Rambeau's clothes. She could change anybody's clothes. That doesn't matter.
Okay. We're gonna dive into this really quick. Right here, I'm with you, Max. I'm all in now.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Carry it. You got it, Mark. Go.
Wanda isn't born until 1989. We're in the 80s. So if we're going on the pure, hey, these people have to exist in this timeline, that Quicksilver existed in the 80s in a separate universe. So you had to take that Quicksilver into your story to fill that role for Wanda. So if Mephisto's actually in there, we're talking as Mephisto is actually in the series. We have no idea if he's related.
Yes, he
Max
is.
Says
He's in it. He's in it.
I would love if Mephisto never shows up and Max is just completely floored.
I'll be floored because they're gonna have to do a lot of it's really gonna have to be all Wanda at that point, right? Like it'd have to be all Wanda doing this.
So if she is able to bring Vision, she and Mephisto, whatever happens, she's able to bring Vision back. Why wouldn't she be able to bring her dead brother from the MCU back?
That's the rule. They've set that rule.
Why have they set
that's
that
a rule
rule?
that's been set
brought
up.
Vision back.
That's the point. That's why I don't think it's Vision.
If we're going off like the whole, she has to have something of substance to bring back. If it's of the same reality, then that makes sense why she gets Vision and her actual brother from this timeline or this universe doesn't come is because she didn't have his actual like template, if you want to say, just thinking of Vision or like his bones or whatever. versus she had to go outside of the reality, or like Max has kind of pointed out, maybe only could get a version of Quicksilver that had to be set in the 80s to fit that narrative.
Which is why they're doing the TV shows. That's why I think that will be our answer. I think Pietro will be the reason why they did it through the decades.
Well, you didn't think that Evan Peters was going to be Quicksilver, so I don't think I'm going to take
You know what? You can thumb your nose at me all you want, but now I've changed the deck's changed.
Now Isaac and I have to hope Mephisto never shows up.
Just to disprove everything Max has ever said about this show.
It's actually been Dormammu this whole time. It's Dormammu. That's who it is.
Dormammu would make a lot of sense too. Actually,
isn't that odd that
I could work with Dormammu being
with no time stone involved.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And then Doctor Strange has to show up in episode 9 to fix everything because it's been into a madness of the multiverse. Oh.
Okay, let's ask these questions real quick before we've spent an hour on this, but man, we can't help it. We spent more time than the 2 episodes aired were showing us.
And we had to do two episodes.
I know, dude. We still have 4 more episodes. That's the craziest part about this. Let's talk about who is Jimmy Woo's contact. I think it's Simon Williams. Who do you guys think that is?
I know before the show, I told this is my swerve. I told you Ant-Man, which would make sense because it's, we know that he might be in witness protection or he's, being monitored by the FBI.
Yep.
But I want to say whoever the mailman is. Like you said, Grim Reaper. But in one episode, the mailman says, "I'm just the messenger."
Yeah.
So I mean, is it hiding place sight? Am I thinking too much into that? But just that line just makes me think like maybe he's the one because he kind of seems self-aware. Where in episode 5, I think he tells the kids, "Oh, don't worry, your mom can fix anything," and then just like keeps going.
Yep. No, that's actually the same direction I was going because he seems like a weird, odd cameo in a lot of the episodes, and I don't know, man. I think Agnes would be too involved. Like he would know more if she was his contact. That was my first initial thought, but he would just like she knows everything of what's going on in Westview at this point. So I don't think that would make a lot of sense. But the mailman, I could run with the mailman. I think that would be a good intro into that to that area for Jimmy.
Who is Pietro? Is he the X-Men universe Pietro? Is he Mephisto? Is he a different X-Men character? Is he just a different universe? Who do you got?
He's Quicksilver.
From where?
My first bet would be the X-Men universe we know because, like you pointed out, and I didn't think about that until now. I was just thinking of his hair is different, but yeah, I think he's probably from that Fox universe that we know.
I think he is too.
Because that's how we could tie in Deadpool and stuff, but
Yes.
Right. Yeah, I think that's just what makes the most sense. So that's got to be it to me.
It would also be really hard, I think, for Marvel to do what they did at the end of that episode. Let people sit for a week and then go, just kidding, it's not him. Or like, oh, he's this other guy. It's like, oh, that.
Well, that's episode 9 to be like, oh, it's actually not Quicksilver.
Correct. Yeah, that would. Yeah, we'll see.
Not next episode. They'd kind of be cheesy.
Yeah. Monica Rambeau references an aerospace engineer that could help her with the problem. Who do you think that is?
Can I give context to my answer?
No. I'm kidding. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm going to give it anyways. It wouldn't matter what you said.
Straight up.
I was just trying to be polite. So you remember she references that she wants that big box that doesn't let cosmic rays, blah, 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 in to like throw in there? You remember that part? You remember how the Fantastic Four get their powers is by cosmic radiation?
Yes.
What if it's Victor Von Doom?
Oh.
You think it's Victor Von Doom? I'm going the other way. I think it's Reed Richards.
It's either a Fantastic Four character or it's Victor Von Doom.
I think Feige is gonna just put it all out there and go, yeah, I'm doing X-Men and Fantastic Four in one movie.
Oh no!
In one show.
Please don't do that.
I think it'd be great. It'd be a perfect cameo. Let it be like John Krasinski, say hey, and then immediately announce
or
the day
Nick
after.
Cage as Victor Von Doom.
No, I'm talking about as Reed Richards. I'm saying like
talking about Victor Von Doom.
Nick Cage. Yeah,
exactly. Nick Cage as Victor Von Doom.
Nick Cage. Perfect. Nick Cage versus John Krasinski. I think I'm on the same page as you, Max. Reed Richards just seems to fit in this area, and man, what a perfect way for them to get into the MCU. I think that would be fantastic. I was like kind of spitballing like what other character could be in here. I thought off the top of my head, maybe you could introduce Nova, because we've been hearing a bunch of Nova stuff being introduced. It doesn't really fit his backstory, but like, hey, if you wanted to change something up, you could maybe throw him in here. But he's been kind of floating around as a character that they could introduce in the next phase of the MCU.
The other one that I was thinking it could be the character that's going to be Ironheart. I'm forgetting her name out loud.
Riri.
Yeah,
Williams?
and they can make her a little older. Riri Williams, I think is her name. Like they can make her a little older. I think they're gonna shoot for the moon here. If they put Pietro in episode 4, I definitely think there's a chance they could introduce the Fantastic Four. Just like, hey, we'll see you in a couple years. We work for Sword right now, and we're super young. Like you could make them really young and say we'll see him in a couple years. Like, why not cast him now?
I think it's super early to cast, but I think they could introduce the concept and the idea for sure. Yeah, I don't think we would actually physically see them at the end of the show. That's crazy, man. My mind is still blown from seeing and the episode was great, but that last 15 seconds blew my mind. I was like, what is going on? I need to talk to somebody right now. And of course it was like 4 a.m. when I watched it, so there was nobody to talk to. But I was freaking out.
Well, that's an hour of WandaVision talk. You can check that out on Disney Plus. You can obviously, we have a Discord channel too. Check us out on Discord.
Great show, guys. I'm so happy that
I know. Some of the people, we'll put timestamps on the bottom for other people. You can check us out on all this other stuff if you want to keep the conversation going. Tell us who you think these characters are. Who do you think Wu is? Who do you think Pietro is? Who do you think the aerospace engineer is? What are we missing? Like, we're talking about characters and broad strokes, but we definitely miss stuff in this conversation. So
if John Krasinski makes a cameo as, like, let's say that happens in that universe, and there's got to be a scene where Darcy looks at both of them and be like, are you guys brothers?
That would be amazing.
Like, just a joke like that would just warm my heart
Oh,
much. I would love it.
I mean, they're not afraid to make those kinds of jokes. I mean, they had Jimmy Woo make a card joke in his introduction, right? So is what it is. Let's quickly go through some nerd news here. Zack Snyder introduces a picture. We'll tag the link to that in the show notes from his tweet talking about Jared Leto's Joker. It has very strong vibes, Mark, to the Heath Ledger Joker. What is your rating of this picture and excitement for this character?
Well, 6 out of 6, because I'm all in on DC stuff. Or anything comic book, basically. But yeah, that's what was, like, my question. It's like, is Jared Leto playing a version of the Joker that's going to be looking like the Heath Ledger Joker? Because why share that picture and congratulate Jared Leto, but, like, it clearly looks like a Heath Ledger Joker?
I'm the opposite of you, Mark. This is close to a 1 out of 6 for me. I'm going 2 out of 6 just to
selling your opinion.
I know you are. Just like I'm going to, just like out of an abundance of caution, I'm going to give Snyder a chance because I am excited for this movie. I don't know why now we need to see this. It doesn't make any sense. The timing's off.
It's to hype it up. It's to make more people want to come watch it.
It's dumb. It's going to be a
It might be dumb
2-minute
to you, but
cameo.
it's supposed to be a hype. That's what it's supposed to be.
Yeah, man.
Even if it's 2-minute cameo,
then I'm
you're
not
trying to
feeling
hype
it. There's too much going on in this movie, and there's too much that needs to happen to change the outlook of how the first Justice League rendition did.
Do you think this tweet will be enough hype for Zane to watch this movie that he hasn't seen before?
No.
Or, I mean, has seen before?
No.
Okay.
No, Zane has a lot of sleeping in.
Yeah, he's out
to do.
Yeah, he's out. He doesn't have any time in his hands. He can't do that.
For sure. Isaac, what do you think of this?
I'm over all of this Snyder Cut nonsense. I'm going to give this a 3 out of 6 because I just don't really care one way or the other. Like, sure,
Yeah.
It's cool. Give Jared Leto another shot. Whatever. At this point, I don't care. Do whatever you want with your universe.
Yeah, I'm just like, dude, does he need another shot? Like, he got a shot. I don't know. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't like great. I don't know.
It's
lackluster.
Cool. I'll still watch it. Whatever. I don't know. This news isn't gonna get me any more hype for this movie, so it is what it is.
Reporting from Hollywood Reporter, Wonder Woman 1984 makes a huge streaming debut. This came at the end of January. Nielsen says that it was viewed the most of any feature film in that time from the week of December 21st to 27. You want to guess how many minutes that movie was watched?
I have no clue. Maybe 500 million.
2.25 billion.
Wow. Okay. Dang.
It was released Christmas Day. That's the equivalent of 14.9 million complete plays of the 151-minute movie. It was also 580 million minutes more than Nielsen's previously reported of Pixar's Soul. So it appears that Wonder Woman won the fight between Soul, which I actually think is a very, very big deal. What do you think of this news? Does this change your outlook on Wonder Woman, Mark?
No.
Yeah, Wonder Woman sucks.
That's my opinion. I'm sure obviously there's people that probably love it or really like it, and there's people like me who watch it 3 times to hope it got better each time, and it did once, and then it got worse the 3rd time, so, whatever.
This is a huge win for HBO Max. This is terrible, terrible loss for movie theaters. Again, they're losing this fight, and COVID and all this stuff. I don't know how HBO Max doesn't look at this. It got really bad reviews, guys. This one got bad reviews. For them to show those numbers over Soul that really got great reviews and is getting up for awards right now, this is just bad news for theaters. They're just going to have to figure out companies are going to have to figure out a way to pay these actors to make it happen, because I don't know how the actors and the directors are going to let it happen. I don't know how Christopher Nolan is going to let that happen. I just don't see it. But we'll find out. This to me is some of the biggest news of the week. Black Panther Ryan Coogler stakes his proximity media banner to a 5-year exclusive Disney television deal. He's doing a Wakanda series. In the report, this comes from Deadline. He talks about how he will pay homage and respect to Chadwick Boseman, and obviously just another TV show. He'll work with the same team, Louis Despacito, Victoria Alonso, and all the other major producers that have made everything else. But Proximity Media and Disney Plus making a Wakanda 5-year series, at least for now. It looks like it's going to be 5 seasons. What is your rating of this news, and what do you think of this jump? Isaac, we'll start with you.
Fantastic. 6 out of 6. Ryan Coogler did amazing with Black Panther, and I don't have any reason to think that he won't do well with a TV show. So I'm all in on this. It'll be interesting to see how they handle the character of T'Challa and, everything that's going on in Wakanda. If it's going to be a pre-snap show or post, it'll be interesting to see what comes of it. But I love this news. I'm all in on it.
Mark, what do you want to see from this show?
God, just what Isaac said. I hope it's I hope we get a pre-snap, or my bad, post-snap, and then the second blip. So I would totally enjoy just seeing how does Wakanda recover after Infinity War, and then where that goes, and then obviously after Hulk snaps, we get T'Challa back and all the other people that were lost, and how they deal with that, because I think that's my big question. I know of even after Chadwick Boseman passing, and reports that hey, they're not going to recast Black Panther or T'Challa. I hope they deal with it in a good way, either if it's in the series or in the new movie Black Panther 2, because I feel I just don't want it to be oh, he decided to retire and he's going to an island, because they're telling me that he still exists then in the universe.
I unfortunately think you're going to get an answer like that, Mark.
I just feel as a storyteller, that doesn't help me.
No, I agree. It's a messy situation no matter what. You don't want to kill him out of bad taste, but you certainly don't want to, as you would say, send him to some island where he lives off his days, right? You don't want to Frodo Baggins him. I'm with you guys. I'm floored that Ryan Coogler signed this. This is insane. I want to know how much money they're paying him. It has to be in the hundreds of millions of dollars. There's no.
Think about this. How much time is he being devoted to this? So if he's not making movies,
5 year.
Well, I understand it's 5 years. Like, I know that. But you didn't tell me how much money he's making over 5 years. That's what I want to know. And then, I mean, my bad. My bad. You did say, I worded that wrong. I meant, like, time in the year
Right.
that
No,
he
I
has to spend on this.
No, I
like,
get what
with
you're
writing,
saying.
production, post-production, pre-production, like, all that. Is this, like, 5 years of him just working on this stuff?
I mean, you would think this would have to be his primary focus, at least, if he is doing
because
other
then
projects.
is he getting paid? Is he getting paid, like, what's their faces? Like, J.J. Abrams is with, like, Netflix? Or, like, the people at Apple, where, like, they're exclusive with them, getting paid, like, hundreds of millions of dollars over, like, 5 years, too, so...
He's just, like, right at the peak of taking a really, really big movie or making his own really big movie, and it just seems like this would be the time for him to go with another studio and do something really, really big. And maybe he already did that with Black Panther. Some people view that as what Black Panther was.
And maybe he really enjoys the stuff, and this is what he wants to do. So he's like, "Oh,
Yeah.
jackpot! You want me to do this for 5 more years in this universe that I kind of jump started? Of course, give me 5 more years."
It just shocks me, I think, with Creed too. I think, like, he's got Creed 3. He's got all these other projects that I know he's doing, and I just this is a big name. If Disney can land these big names to do their TV shows, I mean, doggone it, this Disney Plus experiment might work, man. It's clearly working already with WandaVision, but I don't think I expected the level of storytelling that they've already done with this show in 5 episodes. A Wakanda series sounds phenomenal, top to bottom, and he built that world from the canon of the comic books, and so it's pretty impressive. We're gonna save the Sony PS5 news for next week because I want to do that with Robbie. Watchmen writer Stacey O.C. Cooper is tapped to write Marvel Studios' Blade. Mark, you and I loved Watchmen. Isaac, have you finished it? You talked about it 2 weeks ago.
I did. It is.
What was your rating
amazing.
of the series overall?
6 out of 6, absolutely. Great series. I'm sad I was late to the party, honestly, because it's fantastic.
Mark, what was your rating of it?
6 out of 6.
6 out of 6 for me as well. I believe it's an Infinity Snap too, because Robbie 6 out of 6 is it as well. She becomes the first Black writer to tackle a Marvel Studios project in the role of a writer. And she's spent the last 6 months in meticulous, amongst other writers. They've been looking really hard for this role. And Mark, you brought this up to me today when we were talking about the X-Men, coming into the universe. It's been 20...
Yeah, you shared a TikTok where someone was saying, "Oh, it's been 21 years no making." It's like, well, Blade came out 2 years before the X-Men.
Right.
Did,
so it's been 23 years. And so I wonder how much Feige is going to try to pay homage to that, but also he has a deep respect for that character that's essentially kicked off everything that's happened here. He wanted a great writer. Honestly, a Watchmen series writer for me, 6 out of 6. Do I know this name? No. Do I care? Absolutely not. She wrote on Watchmen. Give it to me. Let's go. Like that's a slam dunk. Doesn't matter who it is. I'm very excited about this. Blade was already exciting with Mahershala Ali coming to play that character. 6 out of 6 for me. Isaac.
Yep, 6 out of 6. I mean, you basically nailed it. She is a great writer. Watchmen is a great series. I don't know personally if I've seen any of her other projects, but I mean, if it's anything like Watchmen, I'm all in. So 6 out of 6.
Mark.
6 out of 6. Did a good job at.
We're not too against that news, are we? Pretty big Marvel fanboys on the subject.
Well, I just like after watching Watchmen, how great of obviously the writing was in that show. Anyone coming from that show that was a writer, I just imagine is going to do pretty well in anything else. So we're going to get good quality character building. So, and someone like Blade with the characters that live inside of that, dome of characters can only, I mean, she's getting full reign to play with those characters. We're going to get a good, pretty good show or movie.
Yeah, it's Watchmen and Rick or Morty for me. If you're from those two worlds, I'll take you. I really, really would love to see you mess with some of this Marvel stuff. Let's head over to Little Bits. Little Bits. Let's talk about Spider-Man 3. Will Ned be the Hobgoblin? It was teased through Sony's viral marketing account.
I'm slapping the buy button
Already before we even finish the question.
For those that don't know the little bit segment, we share a rumor that's going around that's a little more of a popular rumor, or one that could be false, and we either buy or sell it like a stock. So think of it that way. Okay. And Mark's already buying it. You already know that. So Spider-Man 3 is going to be filled with jam-packed characters. While 5 heroes are coming into the mix, there are even more villains who are supposed to be involved. We're aware that Electro, Doc Ock, Scorpion, Norman Osborn is apparently, we'll talk about him in a bit, and others, blah, 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 blah. But will Hobgoblin be a character with Ned? There was a picture that went around on Sony's social media a couple weeks ago that had an orange fin-looking hood next to Ned. He has also lost a ton of weight. I don't know what the exact number is, but he definitely looks completely different. Are you buying or selling this? Mark, we'll start with you because you were buying it.
I'm going to sell it now.
Oh, okay.
Change your
I made my
mind after
profit.
you explained it a little bit
I'm
there.
short selling it. JK, buying more.
Buy the dip, baby. Buy the dip.
Dude, yeah, I'm buying it. Like, just on the fact, it's so cliche and I think it's stupid. But Hollywood, you like they make you get in super good shape. Character like Ned, they're like, yeah, you can be whatever. But they're like, hey, if you want to be Hobgoblin, you gotta, like, if you step on a scale, you gotta weigh this much, is basically the most polite way I think you can say that. So I'm sure that's what was being told to him. And like, why do a big body? Like, obviously he could have just done it because he wanted to live a healthier life. But it, like, why not? He's gonna be Hobgoblin, buying it. End of story.
Before we go to Isaac, who is our biggest Spider-Man fanboy on the show, I'm actually selling it. I think there's too much here. I think they're setting it up for the future. I don't think they're doing it for Spider-Man 3. So it's kind of I don't know. It's kind of like I'll hold. That's what I'll do. I'll hold. I think
you'll do an option trade.
Yeah, I'm gonna do an option trade.
You buy some options.
Yep, I'm gonna option trade it. I just don't think. I think if he's in Spider-Man 3 in this role, it's a very, very small role. I actually think he may be the 6th member of the Sinister Six. And I think that would be a great twist for Spider-Man 4, create a lot of great conflict, and create an awesome ending. And you kind of avoid the Green Goblin problem of it all, right? Like, Green Goblin's the big villain. So, Isaac, I defer to you. Go ahead.
I'm going to say sell on Spider-Man 3. I think you've got a good finger on it there, Max, though. I think it would be cool to see it down the line. And if they do a Sinister Six movie or Spider-Man 4 or something like that, that would be a cool place for it. I think it's a little early for him to just flip and be like, all right, now I'm a villain, guys. And I'd like to see, I know, and this is totally maybe personal preference, but I'd love to see Norman Osborn, maybe not even as the Green Goblin, but just Norman Osborn before I see a Hobgoblin. So I'm going to sell on this one. It'd be cool, though. I'm not, like, entirely opposed to it. Just don't think it's going to happen in Spider-Man 3.
Let's keep going with little bits. Spider-Man 3, Willem Defoe. This is reported from comicbook.com, but we're calling it little bits right now because it's still up in the air. There's not the main players are not reporting it. Willem Defoe is coming back to reprise his role as the Green Goblin. Do you buy or sell this?
Buy.
So this would mean he would have to be pulled out of the Spider-Man universe where he is.
If Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield are in this, totally.
Well,
buy.
Mark,
hang on. Let me expound. I want to expound.
Okay, I have a point I want to make that if you might miss it.
You can make this point, and just let me say it. If they're being pulled out of the movies that we know as those characters, so yeah, then that would make sense that him and maybe Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man get pulled out at the same time. But then that would leave, if Doc Ock is in it and Sandman's in it, that means like their Spider-Mans differ, or are we getting a Green Goblin that's played by Willem Defoe pulled out from a different universe?
That's what I think.
So I'm still buying, because you gotta like, are you gonna de-age Willem Defoe? You can give him back his older face or his younger face.
I think all the villains
real
are going to
face?
come from all these different universes. I think that's what it's going to
Yeah,
be.
I think they just de-age him because it's just going to be a little cameo. I don't think it'll be a huge.
And then
part.
you can change their costumes.
And you remember when Doc Ock gets sucked into that vortex thing that he creates? What if, hear me out, what if that ties into whatever he gets shot out of? Like, he didn't just die there, he just got pushed into another universe.
That'd be epic. I'm down.
It's going to be tough explaining that for everybody, but
Whatever.
I know I like it. I'm not downplaying. I'm just like, it's a huge Spider-Man 3, I'm going to tell you right now, it is either going to be the worst Marvel movie ever made, or it's going to be the greatest homage and nostalgia-filled ride we've ever had in our lives.
I cannot wait.
That movie is going to be quite a flick.
How many Uncle Bens you think we're gonna get to see in Spider-Man 3?
And then murdered.
Isaac
Every
wants them
single
all
one
killed.
of them.
I want them all killed. I want their blood. Give me their blood, Feige.
Get J. Jonah Jameson in there. I need pictures of Spider-Man crying because his Uncle Ben died.
So here's one rumor. Here's one like theory going around right now about J. Jonah Jameson. Is the J. Jonah Jameson in their world right now is from the original Spider-Man world.
I've heard that one.
But he lives in this Marvel universe?
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll have to see how.
And that's why he developed a podcast. Let's over DC news. First, DC little bits, excuse me. There is a piece of news tied to this. We'll talk about this first. Henry Cavill will not appear as Superman in the upcoming sequel Shazam: Fury of the Gods, according to Variety.
Is Spider-Man going to be in Shazam?
Probably not. But DC, and you're getting into our little bit here. DC is
Spider-Man-
reportedly
Spider-Man.
changing. Well, I guess Mark, with the multiverse, and I don't know if you know this, you actually technically can go anywhere. There's infinite.
Even into another universe of Marvel?
Yeah, like
Spider-Man.
I don't know if you know. It's actually
Shazam?
it's infinite worlds. DC reportedly changing Black Adam's name, possibly affecting Dwayne Johnson's anti-hero to
Okay.
Shazam.
Wait, hang on. But isn't Shazam supposed to be the movie instead of Black? Like, his name's still going to be Black Adam.
No.
I thought that was just the movie title. Yeah.
Yeah, how did you read that, Max? I thought that was a movie. Like, they're not going to call the movie Black Adam. They're going to call the movie Shazam, having Shazam
Either
and
way,
Black
it's
Adam.
dumb. 1 out
And
of
some
6.
buddy cop
Stupid
movie.
name.
Yeah.
Sell. Dumb.
The hardest of sells. I actually don't even think it's real. I think
Whoever
this is
came
a
up
BS
with the
rumor.
idea to merge Shazam and Black Adam into a title.
What do we get first? Superman 2 or Shazam?
Shazam.
Unfortunately, Shazam.
And you meant
Or
to say Man of Steel.
too,
I was gonna say we've already had Superman 2. We need Man of Steel 2. No, I this is so stupid. This is one of the dumbest rumors I've ever heard.
That guy should be fired immediately. This is the stupidest.
What a
name.
terrible rumor.
It's awful.
This is one out of the lowest of ones.
Fantastic.
No, I think
that name.
I'd rather watch Fantastic than hear this rumor and think it's real. This is so bad. This is so bad.
Rough.
You know what scares me the most about it, to be honest with you guys? I could see it. The way DC's been, I could see it.
Yeah. I sure hope not, because
I hope
that
not
is a
either.
terrible idea.
I agree. Let's Mark, any last second comments? You're the residential DC fanboy.
If Warner Brothers is listening, call me up. I'll run the gamut just like you gave James Gunn complete reign, and I'll make you billions of dollars, and everyone will love the movies.
You've said that a couple times on this show, Mark. Let's just real quick before we go to our top 5. Would you day one? What are you doing day one?
I am finding out who screwed the last movies and eliminating them.
So now you've traded in head of DC Warner Brothers to being a hitman.
No. I'm not a hitman, because that would indicate that
He's
someone
just
hired me to
paying
do it.
somebody to do it.
Okay, good. Well, I'm glad at least you're paying somebody versus like doing it yourself.
No, I am doing it myself. I said that.
Oh, you're just becoming a murderer,
I
a
am
straight up murderer.
the Knight. No. I am the Knight.
Oh.
I am Batman.
Right.
I am.
Yeah, it is.
vengeance.
It is a multiverse, so like you could be our universe's Batman, I guess. I mean, day one is you call Kevin Feige and you ask him how much money does it take, and he goes, "What? Who is this? It's Mark Jones. Don't worry about it." How much money does it take to
What do you
switch
need?
teams right now.
What do you need?
What do you need? And he goes, well, it's impossible. You'd have to give me a planet. Done. Pluto's yours.
I
Right?
manifest the planet in our atmosphere, and like it's yours, Kevin.
we've named-
it's yours. It's all yours.
We've named the sun Kevin Feige.
I mean, it's not too far off if you're already the CEO of Warner Bros. And eliminating people as a hitman.
Well, by the time I'm the head of Warner Brothers, I would have already been the moon with Dogecoin, so I'll just give him
The moon?
my fortune.
There you go.
Or the moon.
You'll
yeah.
give him the
Do
moon.
you pay Kevin in Dogecoin or do you pay him in like American dollar currency?
Well, if I'm able to pay him in not my own money, but with the funds that Warner Brothers gives me, yes, I will be paying him in Dogecoin to help then elevate the price point of Dogecoin.
I'd start with Bitcoin, then go to Dogecoin drastically. I'd diversify the portfolio.
Nope, I'll Dogecoin for Kevin Feige.
It's aggressive, but it is a multiverse. It is a multiverse. Let's head over to the top 5.
The
We're going in 3,
Infinity Bros
2,
Top 5
1.
list starts now.
Every week we like to do a top 5 based on things that are going on in our world or pop culture world, and it's the Super Bowl week, so we wanted to talk about our top 5 Super Bowl commercial. I totally skipped Hot or Snot, didn't I?
We're already at an hour 30, man.
You totally did. I just
Totally realized I
dropping it.
skipped Hot or Snot. Yeah,
If you
you're
want
right.
this
We already
episode
know.
to be 2 hours, then
No,
we can do Hot or
no,
Snot.
no. Let's stick with
I
it.
only have one hot, so
I've only
I
got
know where
one
you guys
hot
stand.
too. I've only got one hot too. We'll save it for next week, Mark. Save it for next week. We're gonna do the top 5 Super Bowl commercials, and these are going to be commercials that aired on the Super Bowl. You get the bit. We're gonna start with our honorable mentions segment. Mark, we will start with you.
I don't got any.
Gasp.
Isaac, we will start. Isaac, do you have any honorable mentions?
Yeah, I've got a couple honorable mentions. So I've got let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've got the 1984 Apple commercial. I've got the Mean Joe Green Coca-Cola commercial from 1979. And I've got the Terry Tate Office Linebacker commercial from 2003. Those are my honorable mentions.
Mark, we'll start with you. Number 5.
My number 5 was from last year's 2020 Super Bowl, and it's the Rocket Mortgage Jason Momoa one, where it's, he gets there and starts taking off all his muscles and like his manliness, and he's like this twig of a person. I found it comical. That was my number 5.
That's brilliant. Yeah, that's a good one. Love it. My number 5 is the Budweiser 2004 Clydesdale football game where the zebra goes under the tent, and the zebra is a ref, and he says, "This ref's an ass." No, he's a zebra.
Aha. Good one.
I thought it's funnier than you guys gave credit for.
No,
But
it's
all right,
funny.
whatever,
It's
dude.
funny. No, it's good.
Yeah,
It's not
their
funny.
humor's
It's
relevant.
actually not funny
It's-
if somebody goes, "It's funny."
It's one of those things where you have to like watch it. It's hard to describe commercials.
That's even worse. You're making it worse now.
I mean, I know that one of these commercials I'm going to butcher describing, and you guys are going to be like, oh, okay.
Can't wait for that to happen.
It's all right. Isaac, number 5. Go ahead.
Okay, so my number 5 is Puppy Monkey Baby from 2016.
That is one of the worst Super Bowl commercials
Okay.
I've ever watched in my life.
Actually, my wife says that too. She hates that commercial.
You
But-
honest to God put that on your list.
I did. I think it's hilarious.
That commercial is horrible.
What was the product again? Wasn't it like a Kickstart?
Yeah,
Like
it's
Mountain
a
Dew Kickstart?
Mountain Dew Kickstart, like energy drink, and
Puppy Monkey Baby.
Puppy Monkey Baby. I found
Puppy Monkey
myself
Baby.
humming that and singing that like for weeks after the Super Bowl. I thought it was hilarious, but
Max disagrees.
yeah, Max disagrees.
I
That's okay.
strongly disagree. I can't
fine.
believe that made
You
a
can-
list.
You can have your zebra Budweiser commercial, and I can have Puppy Monkey Baby.
You can. You can. You live with somebody who knows how this stuff works, though, if Holly knows that. Let's go to number 4. Mark, number 4 for you.
My number 4 is from the 2014 Super Bowl, and it's actually more telling now. And then it's a Radio Shack commercial, and it goes like a phone rings in Radio Shack, and they're like, "Hey, this is the '80s calling back, for they want their store back because, who goes to Radio Shack anymore? And, it ensues with a bunch of, like, characters from the 80s coming out. And, like, there's Elf, there's Hulk Hogan, other, bigger names from the 80s. And what's funny about it now is, like, Radio Shack, like, doesn't exist.
Mine is for EDS. I don't even know what that company is, but they did a Herding Cats commercial.
Oh,
it's brilliant. Anybody who knows me knows how much I love cats. It's a brilliant commercial.
Literally, cat shows up in the commercial. Max is like, oh, this is a great commercial.
This is top 5.
This is so good.
This is the best commercial I've ever seen.
It's not, actually. It's the 4th best Super Bowl commercial I've ever seen. It came out in 2000.
Well, did the top 3 have cats in them?
I mean, cats and seals.
Yeah, doesn't sound like they have. The rest don't have cats.
No, probably not. The thing is with cats and seals is I'm a sucker for them.
So one of your top 5 has a seal in it too, then?
Nope.
Oh, okay.
I'm just a sucker for them.
Oh, okay. All right. I got you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Am I next?
Yeah.
Number 4, I have Smart Pack from last year. Chris Evans is hanging out with John Krasinski and, gosh, now I'm forgetting her name, Rachel from
Drash.
SNL. Yes, and they are using their Boston accents.
Smart Pack.
Got Smart Pack, and they say Smart Pack probably about 25 times in the commercial. Hilarious.
And doesn't David Ortiz show up too?
Yeah, he pops his head out a window. Wow, that's Smart Pack. Pretty great.
Smart Pack.
Smart Pack. That's one of the most quotable commercials in recent years, I feel like.
That one might stand the test of time. It's hard for me to pick like a commercial from last year.
I know. I feel like the last like 5 years or so really hasn't had like stellar commercials.
Yeah, I think you're right.
But yeah,
It's
that's one that recent memory is stuck in my head. Smart Pack.
Mark, go ahead.
For what?
Number 3.
Number 3. From 2010 Super Bowl, the Snickers commercial. I feel like it might have been the first one where it's
Is
like,
the one
hey,
with Betty White?
It's the Betty White one.
That's brilliant. That one's brilliant.
And I almost want to say it's the first time that they started using like the whole like, hey, eat a Snickers. I think that's when that campaign started. But yeah, just that Betty White's out and playing football and gets tackled. Oh,
So
love
great.
it.
I went with a film one that to this day, it's, in my opinion, the best Marvel Super Bowl film. Best Marvel Super Bowl commercial. And that was the Captain America Civil War commercial. Up to that point, we hadn't really seen anything from that movie. And you just got the panning of the two sides.
The airport.
And you saw Black Panther, and it just looked great.
I don't think you saw Spider-Man because I don't think
you
they
did not
revealed him at that point.
Nope, they hadn't revealed him. And this was before he was even in a commercial. Like, this is before the Hey Everyone commercial. Mm-hmm. So just this one sticks out to me. Infinity War, I thought about it, but this one in particular was just absolutely bananas, bonkers, and a perfect Super Bowl film commercial is what I would say. That came out in 2017. That's my number.
My number 3 is the E-Trade Baby. First debuted in 2008. And he was hilarious for many years, and then I think he probably wore out his welcome. He definitely stuck around for longer than he should have. But initially, that was one of the funnier commercials in that time period, I feel like, and they did a really great job of... Honestly, and E-Trade, was one of the first... Mark, back me up on this if I'm incorrect, but E-Trade was one of the first like online... trading companies that you could use, like just the common person could do. So I thought that was kind of cool.
Definitely the first one that was like heavily advertised,
right? Yeah, and
where it's like you didn't need a stockbroker,
right?
To
and that was the first
trade stock.
Yeah, right. And that was definitely the first time I had ever heard of that, and it stuck in my head because of the E-Trade Baby. So,
do you know who voices the E-Trade Baby?
No clue.
It's Pete Holmes, comedian.
How about that?
Okay,
Yeah.
nice.
How about that?
If you ever seen like those, what is it? Not Funny or Die, but the college one.
College
Why am I
Humor?
blanking that? College Humor, yeah. Where he does like the Batman. If you ever seen a Batman College Humor, that's Pete Holmes.
That's awesome. I did not realize it was him. Cool.
I was just watching one of those today, Mark.
You're welcome.
They're funny. They're good.
They
You're
are.
welcome.
Number 2, Mark.
My number 2 is from 2017, and it is an... I was going to say it in reverse, but this actually makes more sense, and I think might be more funny to the audience. It's an Avocados Mexico commercial. So this is about avocados. But just like some great Super Bowl commercials, it does not open up with the product. It is like people in an Illuminati type of like situation, like a ritual's going on, a secret meeting's going on, and they're talking about, conspiracies and what have you. And then it like reveals like, oh, we got these avocados, like blah, blah, blah. And then subliminal messages and it's them eating guacamole, and it's an avocados from Mexico commercial.
Yeah, I'm watching it right now. I've never seen it.
Yeah, apparently you didn't watch the 2017 Super Bowl.
I must have not been paying
At
that
your
much
house.
attention. Yeah.
At your house.
But yeah.
My house. It's like literally been at my house the last like 5 years, and I missed it for some. That Mark, I got to tell you, this is low hanging fruit for you to be in your top 5.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Cool.
I'm shocked it's not number 1. I'm looking forward to hearing what your number 1 is, because for you, conspiracy theories are like at the top. My number 2 is the GoDaddy Perfect Match commercial where Raffaelli, I don't know who that is, but she kisses Jesse Eisman. Remember that nerd making out with her on the commercial and how jarring that was in 2013? I'll never forget watching it because I was with Zane, and I looked at him and I looked at him and I said, "Dreams do come true, Zane." And Zane was so mad at me for saying that and for comparing him to this guy. It's a horrific commercial in the sense of like they really let him go at it for like 10 seconds. It's jarring, it's disgusting, it's hilarious. It has personal stakes for me, just like Mark's avocado commercial.
Well, in the avocado commercial, I know we watched at your house because that's the year that the Patriots had to come back from 24 to 3.
28 to 3.
28 to 3, my bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was the year where you were like super nervous.
Yeah, I was super nervous. My team was getting piss pounded, and I had everyone in the room give me suck it signs, and I had to deal with that crap.
Yeah,
and
Robert and Elliot were not going to let you off the hook there.
Yeah.
No question.
And then screw them, and Patriots win in overtime.
At least you didn't pull, I'm not going to say, at least you didn't pull a certain person we know and pinch your baby and leave at halftime.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
Isaac, number 2.
Hello, ladies. Look at your man. Now back to me. Now back at your man. Now back to me. Sadly, he isn't me. But if he stopped using lady-scented body wash and switched to Old Spice, he could smell like he's me. Look down. Back up. Where are you? You're on a boat with the man your man could smell like. What's in your hand? Back at me. I have it. It's an oyster with 2 tickets to that thing you love. Look again. The tickets are now diamonds. Anything is possible when your man smells like Old Spice and not a lady. I'm on a horse. Old Spice, 2010.
You really wrote that down.
No,
or you like found that
on the internet.
Yeah.
Just for you guys. You're welcome.
Thanks, man.
Great commercial, and spurred a ton of great Old Spice commercials after that one.
Your wife is so lucky.
Yeah, she is.
Mark, number 1.
Before we move on, isn't that Old Spice guy, isn't he in the Suicide Squad movie?
If he is, I was not aware, and I'm interested now.
Because isn't he like acting and stuff? I'm sorry to
don't
totally
get
go
it.
off topic, but it's like that just reminded me.
I got nothing.
All right, so my number 1. I'll look this up as I say my number 1. My number 1 is from 1999, and it is a Budweiser commercial. And if you don't know where I'm going with this, you sleep under a rock. It is the What's Up commercial.
What's up?
That's brilliant. That's a good one. Love it. My number 1 is the classic 1984 Apple commercial. Just what that's done for computers in general, and it's I think it's the most historical commercial in terms of relevance to pop culture. So that's why I picked it. Not funny. It's a serious one. Yeah.
What was funny was when Fortnite replicated that last year. That was funny.
Yeah. That's my number 1.
Cool. My number 1 is the Volkswagen commercial from 2011 with the Darth Vader kid. You see the Darth Vader kid. He's got the costume on. He can't be more than 7 or 8 years old or something like that. And he is going around trying to use the Force on things in the house. Finally, he gets a little disappointed. He goes outside and goes to the car, tries to use the Force on the car, and the dad, clicks the button to make the lights go on and off. And he's like, "Oh, I can use the Force, guys." And I watched that back again this time, and I was like, oh, God. As a dad, That just got me, guys. It got me. Everything gets me now as a dad, but that commercial did too. So that's my.
You and I
one.
cry over everything,
Dude. It's a problem now. Like I was watching. Okay, so full disclosure, Holly and I are going through Financial Peace University, and we were doing one of the lessons, and it was so random. Like one of the things in Dave Ramsey's program is you do this shout out when you're done with all your debt. Like, hey, I paid off all my debt. I was like crying as people were like, guys, I paid off $77,000 in debt. I was like, why am I crying right now? This is ridiculous. I'm a broken man, apparently. So
you're crying because you're sentimental, and it's a good thing.
I am.
Nothing wrong with it.
Yeah.
Dave Ramsey wails.
Yeah, he does.
You got some debt. Use Dave Ramsey. He's a good helper for that.
Cool dude.
He's a good helper for that. Well, great episode today, guys. A lot of WandaVision talk, but I think the people want it right now. I think that's the big pop culture thing. So I don't think anybody's going to be upset
That's
about
all I want to give the people.
Mark, it was wonderful having you on. Again, to be back with you on the airwaves. Have a great rest of your week, and thanks so much on this episode.
I am thankful that I was back. Also, I didn't tell the guys before this. Funko Pop giveaway, just like we do every time. Like, share, comment. Comment either your favorite Super Bowl commercial or your favorite conspiracy theory for WandaVision, because WandaVision. We're all about that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, we got a lot of questions we need your feedback on. Those are definitely a couple of them. Isaac, thanks for coming on, I guess. Don't cry too much this week. And but we'll see you next week, okay?
I'm going through Spider-Man the Animated Series, so there might be some tears shed.
Yeah, for sure. You'll cry for sure at Peter Parker yelling at Shocker. Remember when he's yelling at Shocker as Venom? It's like the worst acting of all time in an animated show.
It's so bad. It's
Shocker!
good. It's so bad. It's good.
Oh, that's awesome.
I love it.
Thanks for coming on, man. You were awesome.
Thanks, man.
And thank you, Infinity Bros Universe, wherever you listened, however you listened. Thanks for making us part of your weekday or month. You can check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, on Twitch, or at theinfinitybros.com. Leave us a message, subscribe, or rate us on Apple iTunes. That would help us out a ton. If you love this show and what we're doing, help us out, support us. We'd love to get your feedback and talk about it on the show. As always, we love you guys 3000, and we will talk to you later. See ya. Bye.